there's been a lot of discussion online lately amongst the crowd of video game players that do support workers' rights movements as to what politics that affiliation may mean. Rather jokingly, I reminded them that Karl Marx's fundamental thesis, that of the labor theory of value, must remind them that they're not that far off of their most hated philosopher and economist. Let's break this down. The right's fear of Marx's writings stem from its association with 20th century communism, a sentiment I greatly sympathize with, having grown up in a post-USSR country myself. For all of the lefty hipsters' attempt to reclaim the world, I do believe it's a fight not worth fighting, and I personally find anarcho-syndicalism as perfectly encapsulating the sort of world we want to live in. And before you claim these are small-scale projects, I do encourage to read through the history and scale of its tradition before it being crushed by fascist governments across Europe. I also very nearly myself ended up an anarcho-lifestylist that didn't understand was threatened by Marx, and yet was encouraged by friends years ago to give it some thoughts. A whole world opened up to me. His words about workers' alienation, surplus value, class conflict, materialist understanding of history, these are all consequences of the capitalist relations to production that destroy our planet, our mental health, and our social dynamics. The idea that the so-called communist countries have ever implemented these writings is truly laughable. Rather, his theories were co-opted to gather masses for the overthrow of regimes, smoothly afterwards brutally punishing any dissent. Of course, countries boasting very good worker conditions and strong trade unions such as Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway are not some anti-capitalist utopias. These social democracies still utilize exploitation, employers are still profiting vastly off of one's individual labor. One might call these countries socialist, a great intermediary goal to strive towards for sure. So perhaps the right has a lot more in common with these regions than they think. That's clearly something to celebrate. I'm glad we're all agreed that it is not sexism or racism that makes one's material conditions better. It is an active fight to reclaim social and material mechanisms from the status quo, the bosses who are benefiting from our division and our own underestimation of our power. At least for gamers, the hope is now on the horizon. Game Workers Unite chapters are getting formed all across the world, and very soon, indeed, these will be legal organizations fighting for the developers' rights. Hardly a utopia, we're still on the defensive too often, but it's a sight. Workers of the world unite. You just watched Left Off with me, Maria, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.